Welcome back to the podcast. We got Steve Lags with us today. You're going to love him because he's going to show you leaders what you're doing wrong, where you're failing, and why you keep failing and going up against that high watermark as a leader. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to love this podcast. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here today, Anthony.
You know, when we look at leaders and we're always trying to dissect what is it, what's the characteristic, where is the point by the inflection point of a leader and where we miss out on things and what stops us from growing our groups, our organizations, the work that we do. There's a kind of a clear picture of that, and I think you've done a great job of breaking that down. Let's jump into where those failures start.
Well, so when I think about leadership, and I get to coach so many leaders in the programs that I lead, there's one common ingredient for every failed leader, and it's one thing they miss. And and I miss this. I used to miss this also. And I remember a number of years ago where I was looking in my business and saying, "Hey, why is this not fulfilling for me? Why are people just so concerned about like getting work over with? Why are they just so concerned about work-life balance and they're not finding any purpose in their work? And they're just thinking about, well, when am I going to retire and stop working? And I never experienced that for myself. And I was wondering, like, what do I need to do to change as a leader to be able to inspire people and to lead them more successfully for them to be more accomplished? And after going through a lot of leadership development and learning, I found a secret. And then I was able to correct myself as a leader. And then now I'm here working with other leaders, helping them correct the same mistake that I made. So, that's like working smart is, learning from other people's mistakes instead of making your own mistake. You can get there faster.
As a leader, oftentimes there's that feeling I get that I'm on my own. I don't, the frustration of being a leader, having great ideas and working really hard to drive them. And sometimes I feel victimized by the people I work with. And I kind of know that that's really me as a leader and where I fail, right? Where I come up against this high watermark as a leader, and I look
Mm.
outward for to blame others for the problems I'm having, and every one of the business coaches I brought in, clearly show me, hey, it's you, kid, it's you, you're the one that's causing this failure, and you got to look inward, and I think that's at least what I've come up to so far. And do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. So you said a few amazing things there. Number one is the answer is always in the mirror. You have to take control of your life. Whether you're a leader, okay, we're all leaders. Everyone leads themselves. Leadership starts with leading yourself. Because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. But we all need to learn how to lead ourselves. And then there's we leadership where we lead other people as well. And in order to lead yourself, you cannot feel like you're a victim. You're never a victim. The answer is always in the mirror, period. Because otherwise you start looking at external factors that you have no control over and you're wasting your energy. And then when you talked about, being alone as a leader, sure, when you're at the top, you're alone. That is true. And that's why you go outside your organization. And to your point, Anthony, you get business coaches, leadership coaches, you can find mentors that have accomplished more than you. And that's where you escape that loneliness and you find somebody that you can learn from and that you can express your concerns and your problems and you'll be able to develop. And third, when you feel like people are letting you down, I wrote down this word, you feel betrayed by the people you lead. Well, what's happening there, you fell in the trap of making it about you because it isn't about you. People don't, when you lead others, they're not there to serve you. You're there to serve them. And if you're feeling betrayed, well, then you're making it about yourself. And then as a leader, just think about if you're a parent, your most important leadership job in your life is leading your children. And it's about them. You're there to serve them. They're not there to serve you. And if you feel betrayed by your children when you got a 7-year-old child and you feel betrayed, well, you're really making it about you.
Let's go back. I really want to hone in and entrepreneurs. I want you to hear what he said. So look, it's and this is a must. This is a clear. I want you to really stand on this and hear this. It's always about you, the leader. It's not about them ever, right? It's always about you. If you start with that, if I start with that, like if I look at myself and go, it's always a me thing, right? I then have agency, right? Then I can start to work and I can start to look for those coaches that are going to help me guide me out of it, or the language or the work, right? Once I make that shift and notice it's about me, right? It's always about me. Now I've got agency in going someplace different. And I love that we start there. And I think, audience, if you can get that piece right now, that might be the most important thing we pull out of this podcast, starting with that point right there. Steve, I think it's humbling. It's tough,
Yeah,
but that guy, but if that guy would just listen to me, I told him what to do, and he didn't do what I told him to do, and I can't believe he didn't. And I told that guy, and I told her, and she said she was going to, and she never did. And I always am always I get that's what happens in my brain when things go wrong, right? Or when I'm having trouble at the growth of an idea. I want to look outwards. It's the first thing my brain does. And Fred, the guy in my head, that voice in my head, Fred, he's always looking outwards. And when I stop and go, okay, how could the opposite of what I'm thinking be true? How could it be about me? Now
right.
I've got that agency, and I think that's right on where you're there.
Yeah. So if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, the circumstances that exist in your business, you are 100% responsible for. You created it. It's a reflection of you. And if you don't like it, you first start with changing yourself. And the change is about developing yourself and making improvements you need to make. And then the changes in your environment will start to happen. You'll be capable of making those changes. And you have the law of attraction. You attract what you are. So if you're bringing like people that you're disappointed with and they let you down, well, you're bringing you're attracting those people into your life. But when you're putting out into the world, whatever you put out in the world, you're gonna bring back to you. So that's really important. And and what is that biggest failure that leaders make? Right? I started off talking about that. It's that they don't take the time to learn what winning looks like for the people they lead. If my As a leader, one of my most important responsibilities, Anthony, if I'm leading you, is to ensure to work alongside you and help you win. Now, and if I don't know what winning looks like for you, then how am I ever going to be certain that I'm going to be able to help you win at the end of the day? And how do I do that? I have to first of all come from a place of heart and actually be genuinely interested in you as a person and learn like, hey, Anthony, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And when you share those goals with me because I've earned your trust and respect, I want, well, I'm really, what I'm really interested is why is that goal important to you? Like, what's that gonna, what's the purpose of that goal? Like, why that goal? Why that house? Why that $10,000? And then, and only then, I'm going to start connecting with you and I'm going to be able to identify with you better. And now I'm going to say, Anthony, what's really interesting? That house that you want to buy, do you know that if you get promoted over the next 3 years to this executive position, your income is going to increase 40%? And you know that you're going to have the financial ability to buy that house. Now, hey, part of your goals here, like we can work on a plan where we grow and develop. I'll show you the roadmap and we're going to grow and develop you so that you can get to that point and then we're going to align the work that you do here with that house. And what I love that you were shared with me, how it's going to be so amazing when your kids walk in that house, they all have this dream of these bedrooms and a playroom they want. They want that outdoor pool so they could just go swim in the pool when they come from home from school. And Anthony, it's going to be hard at times, but I'm going to work alongside of you. And anytime you have an obstacle, I'm going to help you overcome it. And then when you get off track, I'm going to remind you why you're accomplishing this goal. And if you're fully committed, I'm fully committed to helping you if you're fully committed to that goal. Now it changes. And now all of a sudden the work-life balance thing is like, okay, life is work, work is life. I'm
That's right.
lining to work I want.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I absolutely got, that my life encompasses my work encompasses my life. It's an integrated experience. I love where you go with that. Look, when I have a vested interest in the ones that are in my charge, right? I'm not that I'm in charge of them, but the ones that that are in my charge, where I'm where their care is in
Yeah.
my charge, right? Where I hold myself accountable for creating those visions, dreams, and really creating a life for them that's beyond, their expectations. When I support the people that work with me in that way, that becomes a whole nother way of relationship, right? There's a whole nother vested commitment to each other. And I think corporate America sucked a lot of that out. It became about numbers and needs, and if you're not good here, we'll leave you, and fear. And a lot of that left a lot of us. And people look at what's causing the opioid crisis, what's causing the drinking crisis. Look, a lot of workplaces don't have this vested investment or engagement with their humans, and are leaving people lifeless, right? They leave them emptying and meaningless. It makes it really difficult to show up at work on a Monday, and people are like, well, I wonder why we're drinking all weekend long. It's because I have no real vested interest or enthusiasm about creating this together.
Yeah. You just have a lack of leadership. And so you have managers, they're people managers. They just manage people, but they're not developing people, taking genuine interest in helping them succeed within the organization. And, back to the point about a leader just making everything about themselves and not, and like, hey, it's me, 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 me. What, like, you got to make it about you when there's a problem. Like, okay, I'm going to take accountability. I got to figure out why is that exists. But when I'm leading someone, it's about them, me serving them. And if I'm only talking about the company's goals, and I don't really care if they're winning or losing, hey, we're winning, the company's winning, the company hit their numbers, and I'm getting my bonus, and that's the only thing I'm talking about, and that's the first thing on my mind. And I'm not like, well, hey, did you hit your goals? Did you succeed? If I'm not talking about that, the irony is the numbers for the organization get better if you put them first. You just got to align it and make sure that what they're doing is aligned with what we need to accomplish as an organization.
It's amazing. I go back to where you were talking about, the people that, the company that I ran early on in my career, you could really see the difference between who I was as a human being, right? The people that
Mm,
I could engage with, the the way that I ran the businesses, really you could see the immaturity in myself. Just I had an idea, right? It was an idea. I want to grow. I want to do this. I was project management company, general contracting company, real estate companies, all of which I started with not much experience, right? There wasn't much experience, and as I grew the ideas, that piece in between was really chaotic. And I really resemble that part you talked about, where those steps through that growth, the people that I could hire, the way that we ran the company, the haphazard, people were, I used to take people out drinking to hire them, right? There was a time when I thought, well, if I could take a person out drinking and I liked drinking with them, then I could hire them. That was a matrix that might have been messed up. There, there was, some of the behaviors I was, led to some chaos in the business that we were running. And I love what you talked about as you start to evolve as a leader, and the way that your actions, thoughts, and behavior, and maybe even lifestyle, right? Even, I got to work
mm,
on this mess first, right? I got to come work on this pile
yeah,
of meat before I work on the rest of them.
yeah. And you're a leader. If you're a leader, you're not a leader 9 to 5. You're a leader. You just, that's who you are. It's got to be so, every aspect of life. All right, I'm a leader. I have got to set a great example for people. Like, so when I'm approaching life, it's in all aspects. I'm a leader in my community, my family. But also being a leader sometimes is knowing when to follow another leader. And because if you can't like learn to be led, you can never lead others. You
Yeah.
have to be able to do in order to lead others. So there are times where environments, well, oh, hey, there's another leader here. I'm gonna be led right now because I see where it is. That's easy. I'm just gonna tuck alongside them. Let's go.
Well, I think there may be one of the ego flaws of great entrepreneurs. Look,
Right.
I get up and I could go and I got this, I got this, I got this, until I realize I don't got this, right? I don't. I look. I become the high watermark for the business, where my thoughts, actions, and behaviors limit the ability for this company to grow. And then I need to, and the best I've ever done is when I find great outside support, right? When I let go of my ego and I go to a great coach like yourself, that grows great leaders, and somebody that I can trust. Steve, you bring this ability to see things that I can't see because I'm too close to the fire. I say this. I was
That's
in a
right.
meeting this morning. Yeah, yeah. I was at a meeting this morning with some superintendents, and I said to the project manager, "I go, look, you got to go to their job site. It's not that they're malevolent or not trying to do something, but they're too close to the job site. They can't see where the problems are. Sometimes you get caught up in
Yep.
your own I don't know, your own mess or your own justification for what's going on out there. I need someone outside that I trust. I got a relationship that I can go lean into. Go, all right, Steve. Let's talk a little bit about what I'm frustrated about, and you can look at me from a different point of view that I can't see myself from.
That's 100% right. I agree with you there, where there's a two parts of that. You have a different perspective because we don't look at the same. We're not the inside. We're from the outside looking in. So we have a different perspective and we don't see the same thing every day. You kind of get blinded sometimes. And then secondly, it's much more pragmatic where like, hey, you got some emotion, the entrepreneur has some emotional investment in it, like, oh my god, it's so frustrating for me, I've been working so hard at this. Where I come in, there's no there's no emotion at all. It's just like, hey, algorithmic, like, let's go through this, let's figure this out, and I don't have any emotion whatsoever, and I could see it crystal clear. Where maybe sometimes we get some emotion, we get a little clouded, and you need somebody to like give you that perspective. So you're right on.
Well, that I think that cloudiness, that fear, like things go wrong, and I'm working on something, I'm delivering something, I'm whatever wherever it's going wrong in your business, there is a
Mhm.
breakdown. Something breaks down, and my judgment is that cloudiness, or I call it, the fear kicks in, and what happens is my perspective shrinks. Right, as a
Right.
leader, my job is to bring the billions of ideas the world has to every problem, to bring that to a solution. Right, as a leader, I'm trying to bring as a variety of I have a variety of great ideas that I can bring to every problem that exists in my business. But I have to be able to see. I have to be able to see that. I have to be able to see it. And when I get caught up in fear or cloudiness or that funk, when you talk about that funk, right, or justification, that vision shrinks, and I start to get myopic, right? And I can't see those things. And how many leaders have you worked with, and you're looking at it and going, "What are you doing?" Right? I mean, this
Mhm.
is your behavior's silly, and they can't see it. But they're like, but that guy has to I have to do that. No, you don't. That's baloney. You've made all that up, right?
Yeah.
They can't. I'll do it on me and not others. But sometimes I can't even see the justification nonsense that I've created. And when I have a coach like you that comes in and goes, "Yeah, dude, stop doing that right now. Here, let them do it."
Right. So a couple of things. In order to have a coach, you have to have humility. Every extremely successful person, and I've had the opportunity to get to know, they have great humility because they know there's so much I don't know. Like there's the 1% of what I know, and there's 1% I know I don't know, and there's this 98% I don't know. And being intellectually curious as opposed to intellectually arrogant is a difference maker for people just in general, but especially for entrepreneurs because you amplify your output of amongst so many big people that work in your organization. And then, when you work, it's about mindset. Like you, as an entrepreneur, it requires so much resilience in those moments, and having somehow getting coached and developed to increase your resilience and to see your blind spots when they happen, because everyone has blind spots, and there are blind spots. So I can't see my blind spots. That's why there are blind spots. But Anthony coaching me can see my blind spot because he's qualified, credible, and like, hey, Steve, you got a blind spot here. Okay, I have humility. Shoot, that hurts, but let me take a minute to think. Let me think about this. Hey, you might be onto something. I need to consider this. And then you know what? And a day later, I come back to you like, yeah, son of a bitch, man, Anthony, you're right about that.
Right.
You
It,
have to-
it, it it feels so like relieving to have that. I mean, that relationship, like, one of the coaches I had said, look, you walk around like a scared little kid all day. You got this
Mhm.
amazing companies you run, but you walk around, you can hear the little Anthony inside of you that comes, you're scared. Right. And she would call me out on it. And it was humbling, right? It's like this humbling experience to go, what do you mean I'm scared? Now, yeah, well,
Right.
you're over here defending all this nonsense. But once I accepted, I got humbled and I could bring the blind spot around front of me, and then I could go, oh. and every time it would come up, I don't know that it ever goes away, but at least I can bring it around front and I can see it and go, "Oh, you're acting scared. Stop acting scared for take a deep breath." Right?
Right.
Back off. At least then, that's I think what Steve, why you're so good at being a coach is that you help me see those blind spots, and maybe they don't go 100% away, but maybe now at least I know they're there, and before they cause damage in the work that I'm doing, I can bring it around front and go, "Oh, okay, you're just acting scared. You're fine. Stop that behavior." How could the
Yeah.
opposite of what you're thinking be true?
Right. That's right. So like it's like we have a fearful thought. Once we have it, you've had the thought. You can't get rid of it. It's there.
Yeah.
So what I train people to do is, well, give it a competing thought. You had a negative thought. Well, why don't you introduce in your mind right now a competitive positive thought that's 180 degrees opposite of that? All right. And now okay, now I got a competing thought. It's interesting because we can live in the extreme of like negative thoughts of like this possible negative outcome that is like really never going to happen. It's like a 1.0001% chance. And at a moment of being challenged, we can be there. Well, why don't you choose to be in this 0.001% where of positive out possibilities you're either way you're at not in reality. So why don't you choose to be in the one that's so positive? Like just compete with it.
It's funny. I almost want to have it tattooed on the inside of my eyelids. How could the opposite of what you're thinking be true? Like I like literally want
Yeah.
to. So I close my eyes and go, okay, just take a deep breath. Okay. Oh, look, I made that all up. Fred in my head made that story up. That person's doing this, or that person's doing that, or this is happening. Oh my God. Right. And I get it. There's some sort of prehistoric, maybe 40,000 years ago when we were living with dinosaurs, getting up and looking for your body, looking for dinosaurs all day was
Mhm.
was useful, right? I mean, look, you don't want to get eaten by the pterodactyls. Okay, great. There was a use to it, but today I don't, but my brain still wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning as an entrepreneur and it's looking for the pterodactyls. What about this guy? What about that guy? What's that guy doing? What's this guy over here doing? And it's not, I'm in bed. I still got a couple hours of sleep and my head's already started with this looking for the pterodactyls. And,
Right.
sometimes I got to take a deep breath into it and go, okay, your brain's making this up. How could the opposite of that be true? How could the team that
Yes.
you've created, for 27 years of running your business or whatever it is you're doing for your business, entrepreneurs, how could the opposite be true that you would have begged for the business you have today, right? I mean, I sometimes look back and, on the mornings when I have that really bad thought, I look back and go, I would have begged for this business I have now 10 years ago,
That's
you
right.
know, and I'm over here catastrophizing the whole thing and it's nonsense,
Mhm.
but I get it. I can see the action. It doesn't always go away. I don't know that I've ever experienced it 100% going away, but at least now I know what's going on, and okay, now I can do something about it and go, okay, you your your pterodactyl brains, kicking in. Don't worry, you got plenty of food. There's plenty of stuff. You're slept okay. Your wife loves you. Your business is doing okay. We can work on some things. Okay, great. Let's call Steve and talk to Steve and see what Steve's got to say about what I'm thinking today. And then I get on the phone with you, and as a coach, you help guide me out of that. And I think that's where the relationship with great coaches is such a wonderful experience. And for those entrepreneurs that don't have a great coach, get a coach like Steve that really helps you, you know, helps create a different perspective of what's going on, the narrative of what's going on in your current experience.
Yeah, and what I like to do with individuals that I lead is well, it's like it's problem solving or situation solving. Okay, if I'm experiencing something a certain way, well, what is the cause of it? Because what you just said is what you described as going through that process of self discovery and learning about yourself. And when you understand things and the cause of it, it's so empowering. It almost like it removes the power over you. And now, like, okay, I understand what's happening. I know I'm doing this. Like, all right, I'm still doing this, but I understand where it's coming from. It's not in reality. It is because I understand where this originated from for me. When you could do that with any kind of situation that happens, and it is so powerful. And it's not just like overriding it in life. It's like really understanding yourself because then what you viewed as a liability becomes an asset because all of a sudden now, oh boy, I understand that. And now I see I'm leading Joe over here, and I think he's experienced the same damn thing. Son of a bitch. I'm not going to assume like, but he's explaining it to me exactly the way I experienced it. And I say, you know, Joe, I used to go through the same exact thing, and I can relate to you. Like that was tortured the hell out of me. You know what I was able to do? And Joe's like, oh, son of a bitch, how'd you overcome that? And now all of a sudden you're identifying with them, and now you're, and look, I have the humility to share with the fact that like I struggle too. Like I'm a human being. We all have problems and obstacles that we got to overcome. No, you see the tip of the iceberg. Oh, that guy's got it all. He's every, no, trust me, that person went through so much shit, overcame so many obstacles, like pain and suffering to get to whatever you see. And you got to share that with people.
Yeah, I don't think people really recognize it. I think that's the gift of being around for a while. Is that today I try to show people, look, it's the experience that you're going through. We all, every single entrepreneur, every single, there's not one, there's nobody out there that's a real entrepreneur that's growing a business, growing an idea, growing a company, growing a family, growing. Look, we all go through the same experience. Idea, growing the idea, and between the two of those is a cluster. It's chaotic at best. I want to
Yeah.
use cuss words to really describe it because I don't know you'll get it. But between the two, idea and growing the idea, between those two, that space in between them is chaotic. And maybe if I could get to the point where, and that's where you as a coach help guide me. Go, look, the chaos is great. What do you mean it's great, Steve? I don't feel like it's great. No, listen, the chaos is great because now you're growing an idea. Look, if
Yes.
you have no chaos, you're sitting watching TV. Of course, you have no chaos. You're watching TV. But if you're a growing idea, you're going to go through some chaos. It's a good sign, Anthony. That's a much
Yes.
different feeling.
Yeah, so I say the comfort zone is not the growth zone. If you're in a comfort zone, which is no chaos, all right, everything's calm, it's all stable. I feel very comfortable here. This is good. You are getting no growth in yourself, your team, the idea, the business. It ain't happening, right? Because growth is uncomfortable. When we physically exercise and we're going to grow our physical health, it is not comfortable. We don't go to the gym and be like, hey, trainer, can you give me a comfortable workout so that I can accomplish my like health goals? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Comfortable workout. This is going to be very uncomfortable for you to grow your muscles, Steve. All right. And when it's uncomfortable, it's good sign because it means it's happening and it's supposed to happen. And Steve, you're going to train so hard, you might get hurt once in a while. That's part of it. And okay, cool. But you're going to recover quickly. You get back up. And it makes me, it's law of the rubber band. When you stretch the most, it's going to be really uncomfortable. That's when you get the greatest growth. John Maxwell, awesome guy. And John Maxwell turns, most entrepreneurs struggle with this. It's return on failure. We think that, okay, there's going to be no losses and we're going to go undefeated and win a championship at the end of the season, but we're going to lose games. And when we lose a game, we got to get a return on that loss. And John Maxwell always talks about how do you getting a return on failure? Always get a return on failure because you can't fail if you never quit. So if you get a return on your failure, you re-enter, you try again, you just never quit and give up.
It's a great that's a great book he's got out there. I also like it when he talks about return on luck, right? ROL, and I love that. Say, hey, look, sometimes you get lucky too. So look, the harder I work, the luckier I get, and both are the breakthroughs of doing the work. And what I always hope that people get out of the coaching sessions or the coaching podcast that we do is that, look, it's a natural place to be, right? When you're going through this, the frustration, all of you entrepreneurs, when you go through, we all go through it. This is every single one of us had a frustrating day or frustrating moments or places we wanted to quit or a second we go, I can't take another breath. I can't do it again. Those places where I want to break down and, it's a natural place to be when you're growing ideas. It's the frustration and the fear that kicks in. I'm going to fail. Or how many of you guys out there have failed on a business? Look, I remember going bankrupt. I had to go through a bankruptcy. I thought I was going to jump out the window. I mean, it was 2 weeks before Christmas. I had to let go of 40 people in a company. I almost jumped out of a window, right? The thought of facing that was like so much for my brain. And somewhere when
Mm.
you make it through those tough moments and you realize, all right, that was a really tough moment. And so far in life, I've made it through every one of my toughest moments. There's a muscle that gets created. It's like that part of going to the gym, right? When I make it through
Yep.
those lifts or those workouts, I'm like, "Okay, look, if I have to do one more burpee, well, if I have to do one more burpee, I cannot, I'm not coming back to this gym ever again." But you make it through the workout and you're like, all right, all right, all right, all right. Now there's something to look back at, and there's some gift in that there's a gift in making it through those hard moments that sometimes we can't see there. Steve, I wanted to take a second and really dive into, when people come to you and they go, look, I'm looking for a coach. And
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about the experience of getting on board with
Mhm.
you and your group, and really, like, as an entrepreneur, if I want to come to you and get started, what I make the call, I send an email. All right, now I've got an introduction. How do I get you on board to helping me grow my business?
Uh, what that process looks like. Maybe you could
Yeah.
be a little bit more specific so
Yeah,
I make sure.
what's that process look like when I want to bring you on board? What is it, as an entrepreneur? Because some of these entrepreneurs, they've never had a coach. For me, I love bringing coaching in. For me, it's something. It's a constant love of mine. Is that I believe that, let me give you a little example. My daughter, she's really big into dance, right, and she's also big in commercials. And my wife every year sends her to different dance camps around the country, right? She
Okay.
finds the best in class, and she brings in great, she brings my daughter, attend to these great studios. And I think the combination of the experiences that she gets with different schools really makes her the dancer that she is. And same thing with the photographer she works with on the commercials. And I feel the same thing is true for us as business leaders, as we bring in great coaches, right? And I work with a group like yourself, and you come to, and I want to bring you on board and go, all right, look, I'm ready to grow. I want to take that next step as a company. How do I bring you on board, and what's that experience like for me as an entrepreneur to bring you on board?
So once you make contact with me, the first thing I'm going to do is, hey, listen, I want to have a meeting with you, and what I like you to do is come to me with what you're looking to accomplish. What do you want to change? Like, what are your goals? Where are you today, and where do you want to be? Because that's the first thing I need to identify. Because I need to learn, like, what are the things that you want to change in your life? What do you want to what does winning look like for you, and what are you struggling with?
Yeah.
And then all right, you're gonna come with that prepared, and I just want to have like an hour, maybe 2 hour conversation to be able to talk about that. And then we're gonna work through that, and then I'm gonna be able to say, hey, this is what we would work on. And I would say this, like, this is important, really important. I did a podcast about this. When you do business coaching, business coaching could cost you like $50, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year or more for some people.
Huh.
The quality of your questions when you're being coached will determine the quality of your results.
Okay.
So if you come with a $5 question, you're going to get $5 answers. But if you can, so you got to come to the table with $50,000 questions, and I'm going to give you $50,000 answers. So a lot of people like, how could you spend $50,000 on one-on-one coaching for 12 hours in a year? Because I got $50,000 questions. That's how. Actually, to be honest with you, my questions are going to return way more than that when I get the right answer to the questions and get the right development. So when you come up for coaching, you don't just be like, hey, I'm just going to tell you how things are going and we're just going to chit chat about it. No, hey, I'll give you 5 minutes. This is what's been going on. And here are my questions. And Steve, you just tell me what context you want. I'm just going to give you great questions. Okay. All right, let's go. Give me a
Yeah.
question. If I need more, most 50% of the questions, all I need is the question. I don't need you to tell me the long story for 10 minutes and waste your money and your time with me. Just ask me the question and I'll tell you what context I need.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like it's almost like, a therapy session with my wife and I, or I really do feel like coaching brings exactly that. When I go to a coach like you, I get what I my experience is that I can get to the root of the answer or the root of the problem pretty quickly if I get as vulnerable as possibly quickly, right? Beating around the bush, the setup, the story. I've had coaches go, "Shut up! What's the question? I don't need the story." Right? I don't need the
Yes.
story. But Steve, I da, 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 and this guy over here, and this guy over there. I can't believe that they did this, and that she never does this, and I can never get them. Stop. What's the story? All right,
Yes.
what's the question? Hey, how do I get my team to make the matrix? Right? How do I get my financials in order? How do I get my budgets in order? Right? How do I really work on putting together a budget and a forecast that my company can lead can follow? when I can get to that, when I can get to there and get rid of the story, now you can do some great work with me, right? And that's where, having that outside person that brings it in, having you as a coach, really helps me see something I could not see before.
That's right. Yeah, I'll just say, hey, just ask the question. Just ask me the to do. Okay. And then, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. I'll just ask the question.
Look, as we get closer and closer, it's okay to cuss at me. I kind of like, I kind of like it when you're tough. Get all right,
Yeah.
stop with the bullshit, Anthony. Come on, move it on. Let's go.
Yes. When you look at like people's disc assessments, entrepreneur, like I think it's like 2% of the population are drivers, but almost like the 75% of entrepreneurs that you deal with, they're drivers, and they just want you, like, they just want to go, 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 and just tell me what I got to do and just give it to me straight and don't sugarcoat any shit.
That's right. I really appreciate that because I listen to people's story all day long. I mean, here, same thing happens with me with the people I lead. But Bob and Betty and like, look, we need to move forward on this. Here, that story's great, but here's what's happening. We're
Right.
gonna do. Here's the solution we're gonna bring to this, and here's how we do it. And I think there's the gift in having an outside set of ears and eyes of trust. Steve, that's really where your coaching brings me this experience of freedom and vulnerability and some excitement because getting caught up in my own little brain, Fred in my head, that spot feels a little bit like swirling,
Yes.
and it goes around and around and around. And having someone outside go, nope, stop, right here, we're gonna do this, right? Next week we're gonna work on, here, stop. I had a coach. I love this. I was working with one of the coaches, and she comes to my office. She goes, today we're gonna work on, we're gonna lock your door. And I go, what? What do you mean you're gonna lock my door? I love this story. She always she would come in, and she's this beautiful woman. She has these big red lips, and she walks in and she goes, look, today we're gonna lock your door. I go, oh great. So no one's gonna bother me. She goes, no, 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 no. We're gonna lock you in, and you're gonna stop bothering them. I go, what? What? What do you? Yeah, he goes, look, you hired all these amazing people, and you keep walking out there, and you keep stepping on their air hose. You've got
Yeah.
these amazing people that run your company. You get 1 hour a week with 7 people. Pick the 7 people. All right, I got bump, 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 bump. I got 7 people. I got seven. I had seven. Five of them were my leaders, and then two of them were some other people I wanted to work with in growth. And I had 7 1-hour meetings a week, and that's all I could do. Now, she would lock my door, and I would sit on the other side of like bite my tongue, like, oh my God. And fear would kick in. But the truth was, after a couple of weeks, I started having this space that got created where I could think, right? I stopped being the warrior leader, right? The one who's out there fighting all the battles. And I got to be a little bit more of a reverent leader where I could
Right.
think about the whole kingdom. And I could think about where we're going. And
Be the
I had a
visionary.
yeah, much more vision and it was such a great practice. And I think that you only get from a coach that stands on the outside of you and, brings a practice to your table that you wouldn't have without having a coach.
And your employees were probably saying the same thing. Oh my God, finally he's giving us some breathing room. I can breathe and I can do this. But that's where you work. Okay, I'm working on a business. I'm powering the team. I trust them. And I'm going to show them I trust them, and I'm going to give them the opportunities to succeed. And if they fail, they're going to learn from it. And I'm going to, or maybe it's a lack of process. I believe in them. I see such a bigger version of them that they don't even see yet. I want to show them that I trust them, and I'm going to work on making this bigger for everybody else, so the opportunities are great for everyone in our organization.
It's funny is when I don't, I still have those same one-on-ones every week. And when I don't have them, those people call me up like, hey, where's my one-on-one?
Yeah.
I had a meeting. I had something I couldn't make. Well, can you reschedule? Like they Jones for the one-on-one together because that
Mm.
time becomes, at first I thought it was going to be, all right, I'm going to get a notepad out. I'll have all these things I'm going to have them to do when I get to that one-on-one. You got to do this and you got to do this and you got to do this. And the truth is none of that's true. I don't do any lists. I kind of walk into those meetings with, a practice that I'm working on with one of my coaches. I'll bring that to the table with them usually. And it's more of something we're working on together in a leadership skill set most of the time. And then we'll talk about some of the things they're dealing with through that leadership skill set training. And then we also get some good personal time, and it all happens in an hour, and it's a luscious meeting, not this like list of things that I'm beating them up for. Sometimes we'll cover some difficult conversations that we need to have, but that because we have such a trust in that one-on-one, that it becomes a vulnerable place. That's it's actually a great place to do that. And we've built up some neat experiences together. So I really love that. I would not have had that practice without that coach. And
Right.
look, entrepreneurs, I think that that's where you got to lean back and trust a coach like Steve and go, look, I want to grow, I want to 10x my business, and maybe just to, for a second, think, how could it be me that's holding me up? And having some outside coaching could bring me a whole nother place I couldn't even think of, you know?
Yeah. And improve, and while you're 10x in your business and growing it, improve your quality of life so that when you get coached and you work on yourself and you become a more complete, well-rounded entrepreneur, the way you show up for your family completely changes because you do not bring the obstacles and the setbacks home with you, because the way you're experiencing them is so different, and the way you show up for your family, that for those of us that go, well, I just say that we're all going home to some kind of family and friends, right? We're just showing up better in the rest of our lives.
You're exactly right. The rest of your life. What happens in my business life training happens in all of my life. It happens at
Oh,
the gym. It happens at the
yes.
mailbox. It happens at dinner with friends. It happens on vacations with my kids and family. Those practices really affect the other parts of that. And then, like having that business coaching becomes, all right, maybe I could do some relationship coaching, or maybe I could do some other practices where I could get vulnerable and try on some other behaviors. When I can see that. I love when you said that what I know, there's what I don't know, and there's what I don't know I don't know. Right?
Right.
When I all of a sudden I get a relationship, I don't even know that I didn't even know that. Like, that's a whole nother realm of possibility I couldn't even imagine.
Right. And I love what you said. I remember, like, in my life earlier when I was doing this professional development to reach my professional goals, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, actually I'm getting more at is working professionally, but I'm getting more out of this in my personal life, and how it's affecting me as a person, in other aspects I didn't even expect it initially. And it's such a beautiful thing because you get the professional benefit and return on investment from it, but you're going to get an even greater one. And I watch this when we develop people in our organizations. The same experience happen when they come home. They come in the office like, "Oh, you won't believe, what's happening with my family, and this is happening." In a way, I was able to help somebody go through a tough thing because I went through it. I learned how to work through it. It's just, and then it becomes so fulfilling, and you're just becoming, you're chasing your full potential as a person. And us as entrepreneurs, we're a little crazy because we got this business idea and we're like, asking for some torture along the way. But we're like so big, thinking this vision. But we're just setting a better example for other people when you work on yourself and you learn how to experience it and amplify amazing impact to other people. It really puts a great example of what's possible, because most of us, you know hey, I was 121 out of 176 in terms of students graduating high school. I was at the bottom of the barrel. Like, if I can do this, anybody can do this.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing, Steve. I am so damn. I mean, look, having you on the podcast is what I love about what this podcasting. Having great coaches like you that really are changing the world, changing what's happening out there. It's a gift, right? It's a gift that helps. As we look forward, where the world's going with AI and all the stuff out there, I really do believe that coaches see more than ever, or entrepreneurs see more than ever, that if I'm going to grow this business, I got to find great coaching. I got to find a great person I can trust that can be in my circle. And having someone like you, Steve, on my team just changes it 10x. And I'm just grateful to have a coach like you on this podcast. Thanks for coming on today.
Uh, Awesome time. Really appreciate it. So much value from you, Anthony. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Every time you do another breakthrough, every place you want to come on and share the work that you're doing. We didn't even scratch the surface today about some of the things that you're working on. It's
Yeah.
amazing the work you're doing. I want the entrepreneurs that are out there to really get this. I'm going to put all of Steve's contact stuff down below, please make sure you're looking Steve up. He does coaching for entrepreneurs all around this country. Some of the best companies you've seen out there. The work that he does is legendary. He's one of the top coaches in this country and brings to the table your ability to 10x the business that you're working on. Steve, grateful to have you.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs, thanks for listening today. Hey, listen, last week we had over 4,000 downloads. It was amazing. We had 4,000 downloads on YouTube alone. And then there's Spotify's and the guys on Apple. I mean, you guys, great stuff last week. It was amazing. But I noticed that more than 40% of you weren't subscribers. If you could just do me a favor and subscribe, it gets me, some kudos with other podcast guests. They really see the numbers, and it makes a difference to Joe and Connor, the guys who put the podcast together. They do a lot of work to get us great guests like Steve. And, when we have subscribers the numbers on the subscribers, it just makes a world of difference. So if you could like and subscribe now, it'd make a world of difference to us. And as always, we're so grateful for you listening.